Greetings, everyone. This is Richard Solomon with a special campaign update. I'm very happy to report that I am with District Attorney Madeline Singas, who's running for tomorrow's spot for the Nassau County District Attorney. She's running for re-election. She's been endorsed by the New York Times, the Daily News, Newsday, Carolyn McCarthy, the Long Island Herald, and she really deserves your vote. I endorse her because she's actually a candidate with real prosecutorial experience. I go to court once in a while. I don't do criminal law, but from the times that I do, I'm actually amazed how many crimes are actually committed day to day that affect everyday people in Nassau County. Yeah,
absolutely, Rich. I mean, we prosecute or investigate about 30,000 cases a year, so it's a very busy office. We're one of the biggest offices in the state, and it's a place that's bustling, and there's a lot going on, and that's why I think the voters are really responding to my message, which is you can't have someone who's never done the job sitting in the top seat and expect the office to run as efficiently as it has been all these years.
Now, you were a prosecutor before you were the prosecutor now, so you have a lot. Let's talk a little bit about your vast experience in the world of prosecution.
Right. I mean, I graduated from Fordham Law School in 1991, and I've been a prosecutor ever since. I spent 15 years in Queens County, again, one of the busiest offices in the state, where I did a lot of violent crimes and a lot of domestic violence and special victims kind of work. And I was recruited to Nassau County when Kathleen Rice was elected to create the first ever Special Victims Bureau here in Nassau County, and I did that and created it and led that bureau until 2011 when Kathleen tapped me to be her second in command, her chief assistant. And I did that until Kathleen went to Congress, and I was moved up to the acting DA spot, which I've had since January. So it's an area that I know well. I spent my entire professional career working as a prosecutor. I love the job. I knew it from the first moment I stepped into court and said, Madeline Singas for the people, that this is what I was meant to do.
But there's got to be some very tough moments. I see that Carolyn McCarthy said, what impresses me about Singas is that she actually held the hands of victims and fought for them in their darkest hours. That has to be emotionally tough to see the pain and suffering of regular people.
It is. I mean, it is, and it's hard. We see a lot of different cases. I work on a lot of cases with children, which are especially difficult, but anyone, anyone who's lost a child to addiction or to a drunk driver or to a violent crime, that family needs a lot to get through that. It becomes an ordeal because it could be a trial just going through the process. And once someone's life intersects with the criminal justice system, whether you're a victim or the family of a victim or whether you're an accused, you want to make sure that you have professional prosecutors doing the job to make sure that everyone is protected, everyone's rights are protected, and that people can walk you through it, people who have been there and can empathize with what's happened and can prepare you for what's ahead. It's very important. Dealing with victims, it's not something you just do on day one. I've been doing it for 24 years.
And quite well at it. I noticed that there seems to be a lot of press about the heroin problem in Nassau County. What's going on with that, and why is it sort of surfacing now?
Well, it's a national problem, so it's everywhere. It's not unique to Nassau, but unfortunately it has found its way to Nassau. And a lot of it, happened with prescription drug abuse. A lot of people were manipulating their prescription drugs. A lot of unscrupulous pharmacists, doctors were overprescribing, and people were hooked on their prescription meds. And then, we clamped down, the Attorney General. We created laws like I Stopped, which stopped those doctors and the pharmacists from overprescribing, or at least tracked it so that people who were addicted couldn't pharmacy shop or doctor shop. As a result, that drove the price of prescription drugs, sky high on the street. A pill could be $20, $25. The alternative, heroin, was easily accessible and available and much cheaper. You could get heroin for $5 a dose on the street. So we ended up with a population now that switched from their prescription drug addictions to heroin addictions. And from there, it just has exploded. And it's in our schools. It's in all of our communities. It doesn't matter where you live. A lot of people that I'm out speaking to, know family members or neighbors or have friends whose children are addicted and who've been, touched by this. And it's absolute poison that's being peddled on the street, and we're doing everything we can to make sure we hold those people accountable.
On the subject of children, I know you're a mom, and I know you have twins, and congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know that with school-age children, one of the issues that was discussed in the Nassau Herald was the importance of dealing with cyberbullying and domestic violence, which I guess are all family issues. How does the district attorney's office sort of intersect with this terrible social problem?
Yeah, well, we have prosecutors out in the schools almost every night of the week talking to kids and their parents about things like that, things like drunk driving, things like cyberbullying, things like, giving them information, because we always feel that if we educate people about what's going on, then they'll be better equipped to recognize an issue, to identify an issue, to get help for an issue. The internet has been a great thing for so many people, but for kids, it's becoming another place where they can become bullied. It's becoming, it sort of gives kids the anonymity that they say things online and in these Instagrams and Snapchats that they probably wouldn't have said face to face. So it gives them a sense of bravado that they wouldn't otherwise have. And it's a big problem, but we talk to kids about what to do about it, and we train teachers, and we try to get people involved so that kids feel they have an outlet, kids feel they have somewhere to go. And again, same thing in domestic violence. We used to say that nobody wanted to report it because people didn't want the stigma of it. There was too many familial attachments, too many economic attachments to report somebody. But, that's changed over time because now women feel comfortable. Women know that there's help. We have things like the Safe Center. I'm planning for a family justice center, which will give women and children services that they need to move on. And, things like that are important. And domestic violence arrests, my opponent says they're up and that's a bad thing. I say they're up and that's a good thing, because that means that, A, the police are arresting in these situations, and B, women feel confident and comfortable reporting these because they know that they're going to get, they will get help and redress. So, again, education is the key. We spend a lot of time doing crime prevention because for us, if we can prevent the crime, we'd much rather do that than actually just react to a crime that's already been committed. Yeah,
we've learned that in medicine, that prevention's everything.
Right.
Speaking of prevention and sort of staying with the family theme, elder abuse, that's sort of one of those issues that it was kind of like quiet for a long time, like the other issues finally coming to the surface. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, when I created the Special Victims Bureau, it was for women, children, and the elderly. Physical abuse, we find that, as our population ages and some of these elderly people are living with families, and they often are targeted for abuse by sometimes, the very people who should be caring for them, or aides when they're in hospitals. Financial abuse of the elderly, these unscrupulous lawyers or people who just convince them to sign over their life savings. Even sometimes people who call on the phone, scammers, and convince the elderly to give them their Social Security numbers and other identifying information, and then they can just hack into their accounts. Or people who pose as workers and say they need to get into the house, they target the homes of elderly. So again, we do a lot of education. We are in, homes where we can speak to, we can speak to the elderly and again, educate them, tell them not to give out personal information, not to give out their Social Security numbers, and how to report crimes against them. And again, we ask people, our greatest source of information is always people who just observe things and know that things aren't right. The same way we ask teachers to report abuse when they see kids coming in with bruises and so on. It's the same thing. If you have an elderly neighbor and you're looking in on them and you feel that something is wrong, let us know. And if it's not criminal, then we can guide you to the right place for people to get help.
All right. Let's move on to public corruption, because that's another very important and very sensitive campaign issue. I know that that's one of your platforms. I never like when one party seems to dominate a political structure, because then they seem to sort of take over and sort of silence other voices.
Right.
Let's talk about that and what's being done to fight public corruption, especially from your point of view.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of my leading platforms, because I feel that Nassau is, filled with it, and we have to do something about it. And after the Skelos indictment, I ordered a comprehensive review of the contracting system in Nassau County so we can figure out how is it that these millions and millions and millions of dollars of our taxpayer dollars are handed out, and who gets the money, and what's the reason that they're getting it. And we found some glaring deficiencies in the system and how this money was allocated, and how vendors weren't being properly vetted for things like criminal convictions or bankruptcies, just basic things, information that we should have before we hand over the public purse. And we made some recommendations, most of which were adopted. Mangano instituted his own panel after we suggested that he do so, and they've adopted many of the things that we said, which is we need an independent watchdog to make sure that our money is going to the people who deserve to get it, and for no other reason other than they're the best qualified to do the job. So things like that, I think people were unaware of, and protecting the public purse is something that I take very seriously. People work very hard in Nassau County, and we are taxed enormously high, and people need to know that there's trust in our government officials, that there's good government, that someone's looking out for it, and someone's minding the store.
Speaking of good government, I've noticed that there's a lot of nepotism in the Nassau County government structure. Do you want to talk about that at all, or does that open the doorway to problems?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we need to have people who are qualified to do the jobs do the jobs. My opponent has put her family on the public payroll to the tune of over $3 million. And that, that's a statement about how she views her government office. And that does not belong in offices. People who are trained and qualified and the best suited to do the job should do the job. Just because you don't know anyone in government shouldn't preclude you from getting a job. And these are good jobs with a lot of good benefits, and they shouldn't be handed out as plums to your friends and to your political allies and to your family. And I think that's what people find very attractive about me as a candidate, that I have worked my way through the top. I have started at the bottom as a young prosecutor and worked my way through an office, and I got to the seat that I'm in because of what I know, not who I know. And I have the independence to look into corruption. I have the independence to follow the evidence wherever it leads.
Well, I truly hope that tomorrow is a great day for your campaign. So with I know you have to go back on the campaign trail because we're down to the wire, but best of luck, and we'll see you at the campaign victory.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. I really appreciate it. I just reminding voters to please vote tomorrow. It's an important election.